There's a sale at Penny's.
30 seconds. Stand by.
Hello again.
Yep. Radio.
15 seconds. Stand by. Lights, sound, and cameras.
Radio.
5 seconds to live queue open and talent in 2.
Adjust your mojo.
You are about to participate in a great adventure.
Now.
At age, 60? He's just gonna break bad?
Radio with an attitude.
This system that we love is broken.
I know that.
Do
Not
comply.
Hey, mother.
Welcome to another 2 hours of common sense
That liberty and justice for all is a myth.
and erratic behavior.
You want to, but you can't. And when you do, you wish you didn't.
This is your Daily Mojo.
It is Wednesday. It is the 14th day of January, the year of our Lord 2026. We are close to halfway done with the first month of the brand new year. And with it comes the sad news of yet another icon of the world in which we live. It sits there at the corner. The building is amazing. And yet, Saks Fifth Avenue is, it's going belly up. It is going belly up for a number of reasons. The first one, of course, being money. The fact that it owes, let's see, how many creditors does it have? It has, this is what got me.
Probably quite a few.
It has somewhere between 10,000 and 25,000 creditors.
Oof.
You think you owe a lot of money? You ain't seen nothing yet. It owes Chanel $136 million. It owes Kering, Kering. And you know who Kering? Why they're
don't.
so?
No.
Come on, you're the guy who does all the luxury shopping. You're the one out there wearing
That's not me, dude. That's Misty.
You're wearing the expensive Swiss watches and the Gucci handbags.
Not me.
Don't you have a Gucci purse? Wasn't that the Gucci
no,
purse
but
you
Misty
wore with that
probably
one outfit?
does. That's
Well-
not me, dude.
It's funny that you should mention Gucci because Kering is actually Gucci's parent company.
There you go.
They are owed $60 million.
Oh.
And of course, the luxury, well, that's nothing. I mean, you heard how much they owe Chanel?
I thought it was $3 million.
You listening to the same show as I am?
$30 million, maybe? I know.
$136 million.
Jeez, dude.
And LVMH
Louis Vuitton.
loved them. And see, I told you would know. You are the luxury.
I'm not.
I didn't know who the hell LVMH was. And you're like, Louis Vuitton? Okay, yeah, because you have a Louis Vuitton handbag.
What is
Don't you? Or is
the
that a
MH?
Gucci handbag? Mother humper.
I guess. I don't know.
Louis Vuitton mother humper.
Mm-hmm.
Saks Global secured a $1.75 billion debtor in possession, otherwise known as a
Dip.
thank you. Financing package to support operations during the proceedings. This includes a $1 billion. Can you imagine getting a $1 billion loan? I mean, at that point, it's comedy. $1 billion loan from investors led by Pentwater Capital Management and Bracebridge. Who the hell are these? Have you ever heard of Pentwater Capital Management?
Or Base Bridge.
Bracebridge
Nope.
Capital? A $240 million asset-backed loan and $500 million available upon exiting bankruptcy. Because Chapter 11 isn't the one where they have to sell everything off and then pay everything off. This is the one where they reorganize and come out on the other side smelling like a rose. Or do they? And they are expected to emerge from bankruptcy later on this year. Isn't this what Fry's did? Didn't Fry's, when they declared bankruptcy, didn't they try to do Chapter 11? You remember Fry's?
I do remember that, and I don't remember. I don't remember. It's like Chapter 7, Chapter 11, Chapter 13. I don't remember, but there was one of them because they wanted to keep the store. They wanted to keep going.
Good grief. Do you know how long they've been out of business?
Oh, it's probably been a decade now, right?
I haven't been that long.
8 years.
You have a warped sense of time and space, don't you?
I'm trying to think.
2021.
I'm trying to think when the last time I went to a Fry's was.
5 years ago. And they've been out of business for 5 years.
So it was probably 8 years ago that I went to Fry's.
And they were a great store.
They were a great store.
I mean, that one hit me hard. Well, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is they, from what I understand, they treated their employees like crap there at the end. They didn't even tell them. I mean, the guy was in the Fry's over in Las Colinas telling us that because they, like, half the store was cleared out. And he's like, no, we're subletting the other half. We're just, our footprint's going to be smaller. And then I think the following Monday, the doors were locked and he couldn't get in. So they lied to their employees. From what I understand. Yeah. In the Fry's explained has made the decision to shutter its operations as a result of, and again, I'm going to go with them on this one. It was as a result of the whole COVID-19 scamdemic. The government effed us all.
I think they were having trouble
even
before
kiss
that.
us.
Fry's was having trouble.
They may have
before
been,
that, yeah.
but they certainly weren't helped by the scamdemic, were they?
No, not at all.
Nobody was.
Yeah, most weren't.
Nobody was. So Louis Vuitton, mother humpers, $26 million is what they're owed. The $1.75 billion debtor in possession loan. It also appointed former Neiman Marcus CEO Jeffrey Van Ramdonk. Hold on a minute. Where have we heard that name before? The Ramdonks. Remember, we were just talking about the Ramdonks or the something donks 2 or 3 days ago. You remember that? Ramdonks. Maybe it was my other boyfriend. Maybe it was on Keith's show. There's something about the Ramdonks. Ramdonks. I find it very weird and sus that I have come across that name twice in the past week, having never heard it before.
I'll be honest
in my lifetime.
That name, that name in my history is not a pretty time. So I'm just not going to respond to it right now. You and I can talk about that later. That name, believe it or not, that particular last name is not a good part of my life. So.
Okay, this makes it even freakier.
Doesn't it though? I haven't heard that name in 30 years.
Ramdonk,
yeah.
George Van Ramdonk. Oh, he's dead. He was a Belgian comics artist, and I've never heard Ramdonk. That's a weird one. Anyway, so Ramdonk is going to be the CEO. He's replacing Richard Baker, who was the CEO, as we all remember, for 2 weeks. Well, talk about not getting a chance, not getting a fair chance. And it goes all the way back. Saks Global goes all the way back to the Hudson's Bay Company. Hudson's Bay, that was, man, does that not bring back memories for you, Hudson's Bay Company?
I don't recognize the name.
Hudson's Bay Company, it was a Canadian, I guess still is, a Canadian holding company of department stores and commercial property. It's the oldest corporation in North America. It was founded back in 1670. So it's been around a while. It was liquidated in 2025, headquartered in the Simpson Tower in Toronto. The founding royal charter of the Hudson's Bay Company was issued by King Charles II, granted the company the right of sole trade and commerce over the Rupert's Land territory, the borders of which were based on the Hudson Bay Drainage Basin It controlled the fur trade throughout the English and later British North America. It was huge. I mean, they would have talked about the Hudson's Bay Company back in the day the way we talk about probably BlackRock and the rest of the big corporations and money, I was going to say money laundering operations, which is probably closer to the truth, that we talk about today. The company diversified. They went into, in the 1800s, the home outfitters, home furnishing stores. They acquired Zellers and Fields. They had Morgan, Simpsons, and Woodward's, Lord and Taylor, Saks Fifth Avenue, Saks off Fifth. And then I guess it sold a bunch of stores off back in 2019 in the Netherlands. But it was huge if you look up the history of the Hudson Bay Company. And they acquired Saks back in 2013. So they only had them in, for what, 12, 13 years. And then, see, Saks is a story of trying to, is it a story of greed? Is greed good? As what's his name from that, you remember the movie? Oh, what's his name? What was his name?
No idea.
Greed is good. Come on. You don't remember Greed is Good? Gordon Gekko, Wall Street?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Have you watched a movie? No, not Wolf of Wall Street, Wall Street.
Wall Street. Michael Douglas?
Yes. Gordon Gekko.
Yeah.
So it tried to acquire Neiman Marcus, 2.7. And Neiman Marcus just emerged from bankruptcy in 2020. Again, I think these are all leftover results of the scandemic. We're still seeing the ripples of the entire warp drive engine shut down across the globe. That particular transaction was financed with $2 billion in debt and equity from investors like Amazon, Salesforce, Authentic Brands Group. The goal was to create a luxury powerhouse when they were trying to buy Neiman Marcus. With enhanced negotiating power over suppliers, cost efficiencies. They didn't own Nordstrom. Did you ever shop at Nordstrom?
Yeah, I've been to Nordstrom. Nordstrom Rack.
Nordstrom Rack.
I've been to all of them. Yeah.
So, was there a Nordstrom here?
I
guess it wasn't downtown, right?
Northeast Mall. Unless that's a Nordstrom Rack, but I think it's just a Nordstrom.
See, Nordstrom Rack is like the Kmart of Nordstrom.
Yeah. I think it was a Nordstrom. It was at Northeast Mall. If it's not. Still there.
See, they had look, well, hold on a second. I'm going to call your memory into question here in just a couple of minutes because I found out something that you brought up yesterday. I'm like, wait a minute. And when I looked at it, it was like, wait, he did that I think you did it on purpose yesterday. I think when you recalled the thing we were trying to recall yesterday, you did it on purpose just to make us look silly, to make us look like we didn't know what we were talking about.
Okay. Yes, the Northeast Mall Nordstrom has been closed permanently. So
and they're not owned. Nordstrom is not owned by Saks. That's a different global empire, right? Let's see, who owns Nordstrom? Nordstrom is now a private company, owned primarily by the founding Nordstrom family and the Mexican retailer El Puerto de Liverpool, which is about the least Mexican-sounding name I can think of. Welcome to El Puerto de Liverpool, the Beatles. Oh, yeah, see. Yeah. So they had it was an all-cash acquisition last year. But, so Saks is effectively a competitor, or was a competitor of Nordstrom, and they're not quite dead yet. Not quite dead yet, sir. But it does not look good for them. And in shopping, I remember going back to Nordstrom for just a second. Nordstrom used to have a policy back in the 80s, and I don't know when they got rid of it. But you could buy like a pair of shoes from Nordstrom, and you could take them back in 5 years and say, yeah, I didn't like the way they felt. And they give you your money back. And I never forgot, because I was at one point married to a whack job. Notice I didn't give a name. That way I can't be
Yep.
legally bound to it. I mean, it could have been any one of the 7.
It could have been.
Could have been any one of the 7. But at the time, married to a whack job who just loved. Should have been. That was a red flag. That was a red flag, Brad. You should have known. But you didn't listen, did you? No, you didn't listen. Anyway, she enjoyed shopping at Nordstrom. And it was all about the look. It was all about the look. And I remember her telling me about that particular feature of Nordstrom. I was like, wow, that seems like people could take advantage of that. And people, can you imagine doing that today?
Oh, people take advantage of it. Yes.
Oh,
I mean, think about
huge.
it. Walmart's got a crazy one. People take Amazon's
Walmart's
return
got,
policy.
Walmart has a crazy return policy. What's their return policy?
As long as you bring it, well, it used to be when I worked for Walmart back in the 90s, you could bring anything back. We had a guy bring back
30 years ago.
Well, yeah, was it 90s? Yeah, it was 90s. The guy brought back what do you call those? Chainsaw.
Boxes?
A used chainsaw.
Yeah.
Walmart gave him his money back. I mean, he had used the shit out of it. He just didn't like it anymore. I mean, Walmart had a crazy return policy for a while. I don't know if they still do or not. If you've got a driver's license,
that they do.
Or if you walk in there with your driver's license, they'll give you back. They'll give you money
well,
back.
Well, Nordstrom, maybe they were just copying Nordstrom's at that point. But it was insane. Did I not have that window open? Apparently, I did not have that window open. Sorry, I was just talking to myself there.
But you could have shoes
Twitter
for
disappeared.
Years and bring them back to Nordstrom.
Yes, and again, people for whatever reason, I don't think took advantage of that particular policy, and maybe they did take advantage of it. Maybe that was one of the reasons that Nordstrom in the end is not doing well. I mean, I guess that's possible, but you cannot do that. Sorry, I just saw Wade Robertson. I'll rammer donk. What is the wrong? And it's not Ram Norks, Hobo Jedi or Hobo Joe. Ram Norks. What is wrong with you people? But you can't do that anymore because people will take advantage. We help people now in LA. What do they? They don't even bother to buy stuff. They just break down the front door. They go in gangs and they steal everything. And then if any of them cut themselves on the glass on the way out, they probably would sue. So there's that. But are luxury brands now just a thing of the past? Is this why we can't have nice things? Is this part of the problem, the downfall of Western society? I mean, there's no doubt that that's what the powers that be are attempting to do, is take down Western society as we know it. I don't think there's an argument against that at this point. But with companies like Saks, is there, and maybe there's a new, I'm not hip enough to know if there's a new generation of like the hip, cool, upscale store, because Saks also owns Bergdorf Goodman, which is one of them hoity-toity places. I think I've walked into Bergdorf Goodman. That was all I could afford. And they're like, yeah, sorry,
breathe
sir,
the air
you got
inside
the wrong
the building.
Yeah, that was it. And it was again going back to what they did that probably was the biggest factor in taking them down. So they tried to buy Neiman Marcus, and it was the debt load from that really set them on the path of. And the filing was precipitated, using large words, by acute liquidity shortages and operational breakdowns. It stems from a combination of strategic missteps, you think, market shifts, yeah, and financial pressures. Cry me. We all have financial pressures. Cry me a river. The Neiman Marcus acquisition, $2.7 billion of vendor payment delays. Yeah, when they start going, yeah, we'll get your money in 30 days, you'll have it. They missed their debt payments. They missed bondholder payments. And the market dynamics. Are we shifting away? As Americans, as the world, are we shifting away from luxury What's the word I'm looking for? It's all about the look. Well, Ron, it's all about, what you try, it's the look thing.
Okay.
You know how you do.
Whatever, dude.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I was just hoping you could, fill us in. So it's expected to unfold over the coming weeks. They're requesting a 40-day extension to file consolidated financial statements by March. And is this just putting off the inevitable? That's what we will find out in a couple of months. I have a sneaky feeling this may be the end, and it won't be the end of the name, because what we'll see is somebody will pick up the pieces and it'll become an online name, and then everybody can afford Saks because they'll be selling, discount items. It's always, Radio Shack continues online. Circuit City continues online. Hell, Toys R Us, not just online. There was a Toys R Us retail location at the mall in Nashville when we were there. So, back from the dead, Toys R Us. It could happen. You want to get involved in the conversation? Tell us all about your Coach purse. You have a Coach purse, don't you, Ron?
I have. Look, there
yes
are
or no?
tons of Coach purses in this house. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You have one for each different pair of shoes?
Every pair of shoes.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
Use the hashtag what I learned today over in the chat rooms. We continue our journey, or we continue dipping our foot back into the YouTube pool. We haven't so far caught any weird diseases yet. We'll see. Bug's mom says Hobby Lobby is like that. My daughter would get so frustrated at people who bought a carload of seasonal stuff, and 90 days later, after the season, they bring everything back for a full refund. We used to do that when we were producing shows for DIY HGTV and the like. If we had to buy a bunch of things just to show them in a segment, didn't use them or anything, and then we'd take them all back. Was that wrong? And was it wrong to, because we had, it was hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars worth of stuff that we would take back. Now, again, we hadn't used it, but still, there's a cost to having to restock that stuff and putting it back on the shelves and get it back into inventory. Generally, we didn't have it any more than, 3 weeks, 4 maximum. But still, things can change in that particular time period. And I always felt a little weird. And I don't feel weird sending stuff back to Amazon for some reason, probably because you don't have to sit there and look at the person on the other side of the counter. It's nice and anonymous. You say, that didn't fit. It wasn't what I thought it was. I don't like it. You always have to be careful. When you go to return something, when it says reason for return, don't you kind of think, should I be honest, or should I... It's wrong description. Even though you knew when you got it that you just wanted to see if it was like the other one that you had that you were buying. So you're buying both of them, going to compare and then send one back. Or did Amazon figure this into their whole business plan before they even launched?
I just put no longer needed. I don't care.
Have you no conscience?
Some of those options make you fill out another field.
Right.
Found a better price somewhere. Okay, tell us where you found a better price.
Where?
Yeah. I just
I'm
no
just
longer
lying.
need
I just don't want it.
Okay, here you go.
But is that a valid reason? Doesn't that bother you sometimes? Don't you feel like you're abusing the system?
No, because I don't return stuff that I don't need to return. I don't just get stuff and return it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I break something. If I break something that's outside the return window, I might buy something, that same thing new, and then return the old one.
Wow.
Under the new guy. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I'm not the only person who does that.
Oh, so that makes it okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But I'm not the only person who does it. It makes my conscience feel a little better.
Right. I'm not the only person who goes out and kills transients for sexual gratification.
Oh, good Lord. You're not? Wow.
I hope I'm not.
Make it okay for others? I mean, for
Is
you.
if I'm not the only one, then it's okay, isn't it?
Wow.
Isn't it okay? Asking for a friend. Are we leering in here too? Lady Wrangler says, yeah, exactly. This is the Quality Leering Center here at the Daily MoJo. This particular portion of the program, I can't listen to that woman yet because she's going to make me freaking sane. Yesterday, we had a fine discussion with our friend Valerie over at smellmymojo.com, and fabulous story. If you didn't hear the discussion we had with Valerie, check it out. It's on yesterday's program. You can find that in the archives at the Daily Mode. No, you can't. You can go to the Rumble Daily Mojo channel and find it there in the archive section, or just right there on the front page. But it's worth a listen because she does have a fabulous story. And thank you all for being patrons of Valerie's and of Sugar Creek Goods. And she told us the deodorant. She couldn't get the.
So she just had to reformulate it.
She solved a problem. She saw a problem. She solved the problem. She came. She saw. She kicked its butt, and she triumphantly returned. And again, I love somebody who is not afraid to tell you what they stand for, especially if it's on the right side of history. Well, you're about to play the speech of the woman who's telling us what she stands for, and she's a moron. See, that's where you have to be discerning. You have to look at what someone stands for and decide whether or not they're an idiot by them standing up for what they quote unquote believe. In this case, Valerie stands up for the J6ers, and she's not afraid to tell you. We stand up. Because the question I asked her was, are you ever, you're afraid to alienate half of your customer base? Because that's the question I think we all ask is, why would you, because when we see some of these stupid people out there, actors in particular, getting out there and running their mouth, and they go, don't you realize that, half of the people that you're talking to don't agree with you, at least half, and that kind of puts a ding in your brand, and maybe they're not going to go to see your next movie. But they don't care. They just don't care. We know they're idiots, but they don't think they're idiots, which is really baffling to me. But in the case of Valerie Dittmer, she stands up for the values that we stand for here on the Daily Mojo. And if you want to support a smart woman, an independent businesswoman, a woman who's not afraid to tell you what she believes in and why, then Smell My Mojo is for you. And you go to Smell My Mojo by spelling smell. How do you spell that, Ron?
SMELL.
Took him a minute to think of that. Smell my. How do you spell my?
MY.
Some people think that you'd spell it MI, but it's not. I mean, it sounds like you'd spell it MI, but you don't spell it that way. So SMELL, MY, and then Mojo. How do you spell that?
MOJO. Smellmymojo.com.
That's it. Right there. In a nutshell.
Top of the hour, I flip on the radio for a blast of truth and power from the Daily Mojo. Oh.
Stupidity is not a competition.
So you don't shoot deer with a bullet that size. If you do, you could cook it at the same time.
Unless you're a politician.
Get the news from Brad and Ron. It's the greatest show. I have a few surprises on the Daily Mojo.
The Daily Mojo.
Rochelle Bilal is the elected sheriff of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She has been serving since January of 2020. She previously worked as a Philadelphia police officer for over 20 years. She focused on sex crimes and drug trafficking units during her tenure as sheriff, though. She faced multiple accusations of misconduct, including abuse, retaliation against employees, financial impropriety, and mismanagement. These stem primarily from whistleblowers, lawsuits, city audits, and media reports. I was not surprised to find that out after I listened to her sing these words, which, again, I'm going to warn you, this will make you want to watch yourself bleed out of your toenails.
Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Bilal, the sheriff for the city and county of Philadelphia. And I say her name, Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. This should not have happened, but we're here today. Let know that law enforcement professionals, real ones, not the fake made up ICE, probably Trump's new army to attack citizens of the United States.
I have to take this in pieces, otherwise I'm going to scream and start throwing things. This is what causes things like the shooting of Nicole Good, or whatever the hell her name was. At this point, I don't even care. Which sounds heartless, but I'm telling you, the deeper you get into this, the more it will just piss you off. The fact that she, an elected sheriff, gets up there and calls ICE officers fake law enforcement. What the hell do you think people are going to do? When you start calling ICE officers fake law enforcement, how do you think people are going to look at them, are going to engage with them? This is on your hands, you evil.
Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
No law enforcement professional wears a mask. None.
I'll give her this. She's not afraid to get up there and look like an asshole and not wear a mask. Good on her.
None. Those that come into our communities wearing a mask to commit crime, thank God for our district attorney, Larry Krasner.
See, statements like that. Those who come into our county and our city to commit crimes. How do you think the uneducated and the ignorant amongst us will react to ICE officers if you call them that?
She knows exactly how they're going to react.
That's why she is saying these things.
He's going to lock him up, and I'm saying now, we are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested there.
Boy, she is... She has that face and that attitude that just make you want to reach through the screen and boop, right on the nose, doesn't it? Just right there on the nose. Hobo Joe 61 says, so no officer was required to wear a mask under COVID? Good point. Thank you.
No whisk away for them to hide you. None of that here.
What is she talking about? No whisk away in order to hide you. I don't understand what is she saying?
In other words,
we're on YouTube.
They're going to unmask them. They're going to unmask them right there. In other words,
what's the whisk away?
You don't get whisked away. You don't get arrested and then taken somewhere else. They're going to arrest you right here. The ICE agents, who are the criminals, wearing masks.
Oh, so she's saying we're not going to whisk the ICE agents away. I don't understand who she's talking about when she said we're not going to whisk you away.
Yeah.
So she's talking about the ICE agents. We're not going to whisk you away.
Correct.
Which, okay,
when we
I don't get
arrest
it.
you for being a criminal, yes.
But okay, they haven't. How do you arrest all right.
That here. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying flee.
Wait. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. That makes no sense, but okay.
Because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way.
They're trying to rewrite the narrative. Again, they're trying to ignore the fact that she had previously, she was involved in the protest prior to the incident that cost her life. She was not just a little mom out there trying to get home after dropping off her kid at school, and she just found herself in the middle of some, I don't even know what's going on here. I just want to get out and get home. That is not what was going on.
Professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles.
Who was Diffriend says, I need June Cleaver to interrupt the jive. Yes. It's okay, stewardess. I speak jive.
Invoking an action that is illegal.
Hold on. What the hell did she just say?
Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles, invoking an action that is illegal.
Law enforcement officers stand in front of a movie invoking an action that is illegal. So is she trying to say that he was standing in front of her car to try to get her to run into him? Is that what maybe that's what she's saying?
No, we don't. And so we stand here to...
Is that Scatman Crothers? I loved him in The Shining. I thought he was dead. Is he not dead?
I think Scatman Crothers is dead.
Is he?
I'll look.
Because is that not Scatman? Right.
Today, with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that.
She, again, is responsible in part for the death of Renee Good. Nicole Renee, whatever her name is.
I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law.
Tell me you're an idiot without telling me you're an idiot. How did this woman get elected? How did people pull the lever for her to get elected? And not just elected. When she was elected with, I think it was 73% of the vote. 73% of those voting voted for, hell, I can't even remember her name. Rochelle Bilal. Some of the comments down here. Only in my city, Philadelphia, even the sheriff says, you don't want this smoke. I don't even know what that means. And then because it is YouTube and because it is the interweb, then we get into a heated discussion as to where that you don't want this smoke phrase originated. Because everything on the internet is a challenge. Michaela's mom, if something pops off in her city, the blood is on her hands. It already has, and it already is. I mean, that's the problem. We've got morons like this out there saying things like this to the people who can't find their butt with both hands and a flashlight. What do we expect them to be doing when they hear her saying these absolutely moronic statements?
So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any
Scatman Crothers, I don't care what anybody says. He is back from the dead.
Any of them want to come in this city and commit.
Is dude back there about to shout, or is she just boring the dog snot out of him?
A crime.
Did anybody remind him? Yeah, you are. You're on camera.
Yeah.
You will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke. Because we will bring it to you.
Yeah, we'll bring the smoke. We're going to bring the smoke to you. What does that mean? We're going to bring the smoke to you. What does that? Anybody know what we're going to bring the smoke to you means? We gonna bring the smoke to you. Meaning. Now, let's see. According to the AI, the phrase, we gonna bring the smoke to you, is slang that means the speaker intends to initiate or escalate a conflict, competition, or confrontation. So she is, in fact, threatening law enforcement. Is she not? Would that not be a threat? I don't know how you handle a threat from a an elected sheriff. You know, when we have the Sheriff Mack on the program, and we're always talking about how the sheriff is why it's so much more disturbing coming out of the mouth of a sheriff, because the sheriff is the last, in theory, the last line in the sand between us, we the people, and the government and law enforcement, because they are an elected position that, in theory, we the people have the last word in who gets to be that blue line in the sand. Yes. And when you have ID10Ts like her standing in that position and saying inflammatory things like this, should these be the words? And I'm trying to think of a world or a universe in which this would be justified. And I don't know that now, ironically, let's go back to Nazi Germany, shall we? Let's go all the way back. Stand by 1 second to get into the Wayback Machine here. Are you comfortable? Are you strapped in? Are you strapped and strapped? Good. Back to Nazi Germany. You have a law enforcement officer out there talking about the SS, the Gestapo, saying, hey, they're the fake law enforcement. When they come around and they're trying to take the Jews, you got to stop them. Would they be correct? I think so. I think that would have been a fine thing for law enforcement to say back in Nazi Germany when the SS, the original, and thank you to whomever it was that reminded me of the stormtroopers being from World War II and Nazi Germany. Would that not be the right thing to do as a law enforcement officer, to get out there and call them the fake law enforcement and don't do what they want you to do, because they're not real law enforcement, and what they want is immoral, illegal, fattening, etc. So yeah, I can see a universe where those words would be the right words to speak. However, that is again the danger of comparing law enforcement today and Trump and anybody that's MAGA, for lack of a better term, to say that we are the stormtroopers, that we are the bad guys, that we are the Nazis, that we are Hitler. You get these, as Rush Limbaugh once said, the low information voters. You get them and they will believe it, lock, stock, and barrel. They don't even need to be convinced, because they're that, what's the word I'm looking for?
Brainwashed.
Stupid.
Yeah.
They're that stupid that they will believe that. How is this responsible coming out of the mouth of a law enforcement official? And that's, again, why I say it's even more disturbing that it's coming out of the mouth of a sheriff, of all people. We'll continue down this path of insanity in just a moment. First, Big Mike and Phil are here.
This is Phil Bell on the Daily MoJo with your morning update. Let's have a conversation about Ashley St. Clair. Now, you've never heard of Ashley St. Clair yet. Well, before it was revealed that she was the mother of one of Elon Musk's children, neither had I. Apparently, she was a writer on the Babylon Bee and an influencer. Now, she is taken to X to tell everyone that she is dark woke, that she wants Jack Dorsey back at X, aka Twitter, and she's apparently even taken her name off of the children's book that she wrote to highlight how stupid the whole trans agenda is. Now, I don't really care about Ashley St. Clair. I don't care about what she has to say. She's not somebody I really knew much about in the first place. But I want you to remember something. What we patriots have built over the past few years is a true grassroots movement. But one problem with grassroots movements is that they often become focused on individuals or whomever is the largest voice in the movement. And a great example of that was President Reagan and his 1980s era revolution. After Reagan left office, the movement died. It didn't even make it into the 1990s. And it took all the way until 2016 for President Trump to resurrect it. That's why I want you to remember that our movement is built around free markets, individual liberty, limited government, and personal responsibility. The leaders and the large voices in our movement will come and go. And we should be thankful to them for what they're doing to help move us along. However, if they do leave, if some of them change their minds or otherwise, it's important for all of us to stick to our principles and retain the enthusiasm we have for those principles, because that's really what the liberals want. They're sitting there trying to wait us out. They're saying, well, wait a minute. When President Trump is out of office, or if Elon Musk changes his mind, or if something happens or something else happens, well, guess what? The people will stop believing in what they're talking about, and then we can bring them back to the plantation. Let's not let that happen. So, what I want you to do is leave a comment under the show. Let us know what you think. And what I also hope you'll do is download the Daily Mojo smartphone app and enable notifications. That way you'll be up to date on the latest craziness and good stuff coming out of Washington, D.C., and you'll know how to share it with others. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay free right here on the Daily Mojo.
Before you go, remember to hit that like button if you agree with Phil. If you don't, let us know why in the comments below and share it with the world. Phil Bell's Morning Update is exclusively on thedailymojo.com.
The Daily Mojo.
All right, I want to take us back to yesterday, just briefly, because we were trying to remember what the movie that we all watched in traffic school that was very graphic, and we're discussing consequences and the fact that if you watched, if you could actually see what the consequences of your actions could end up being, like fiddling with the bears in Yellowstone and the buffalo up there at the Tonga, trying to get a selfie with a buffalo because they're so cute and they're fuzzy. The fuzzy, what are the Japanese tourists refer? Oh, the fuzzy cows. And yet you see maybe a picture of Bob, who had been dicking around with the bears maybe 1 second too long, and Bob is he's a torso because the bear nibbled on his legs and his arms and even Bob's head, which they say pops like a grape when a bear bites down on it, which is entirely possible. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Viper. Remember in Game of Thrones when the Viper and the Mountain fought? Remember that scene?
Yeah, he grabbed his eyeballs and poked him out.
Boop! And then he crushed his head, and you heard it go.
Yeah.
That was disturbing for a number of reasons. Sadly, the Viper didn't hear the Mountain's confession, did he? Somebody brought that up, that as the Mountain is going, yeah, I killed her and I did this and I did that and I crushed her head like I'm crushing yours. And somebody brought out the point that Viper probably didn't hear him say that because he, was crushing, getting his head crushed. His hands were over his ears. So let that sink in for just a minute. Anyway, consequences. But going back to the movie, Ron tried to bring up I believe the movie you said when you went off and researched it for 10 seconds was Blood Flows Red on the Highway.
No, I didn't research that one. That was what I thought it was supposed to be. But
that's what I'm saying.
When I researched it, that's not what it is. Red asphalt or something like that.
No, it's not even red asphalt. No, this was from a Blood Flows Red on the Highway. You know what that actually is?
I do not.
It's a parody. It's a parody of those very films we were discussing. It was from the 1985 movie Moving Violations, right there in the title. And I should have known because right there at the beginning, I'm like, wait, that dude looks familiar. That is
Southern?
Stacy Keach.
Oh, Stacy Keach, yeah. It looks like Southern.
It looks like Sutherland?
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland?
Donald, yeah. At first glance, it looks like Donald Sutherland to me, but I can see Stacy Keach there, yeah.
Yeah, I can see Stacy Keach. Because it's Stacy Keach! And Blood Flows Red on the Highway is just a parody. Made a laughing stock out of all of us. We're trying to be serious about the consequences of our actions. The real movie was this one. I wonder if we can play any of this. I guess we'll find
The teenagers would catch up with him now and then at a red light. And then they caught up with the racer for the last time.
And then the racer.
And this is what they saw.
Yeah.
A police investigation revealed that the driver lost control of the car, hit the brakes, skidded over 150 feet, slammed into a large oak tree a few feet from the road.
And wrapped it. That's where the term wrapped it around a tree came from. Because he wrapped that bad boy around the tree. The way that right there is his head. And they pull him out. He's deader than $900. Mainly because when you go wrapping your head or your car around a tree, you're going to end up deader than $900. But that is a prime example of showing the consequences of driving either A, like a fool, or B, under the influence of under the affluence of alcohol. And I'm not as thinky as you drunk I am. And when you do stupid stuff, when you FA, you FO. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. But nobody knows that anymore because we don't give them the skinny. We don't give them the long and short of it. We don't tell them the truth. I say we, I'm talking about the mainstream media and for whatever reason, society in general, although I think that is swinging the other way because I think what's the new generation coming up? Is it the millennials? Who's after?
Gen Alpha.
What are we, Gen X?
We're Gen X.
No, who's right after Gen X? Who's right after Gen? It's millennials, right?
Millennials, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they started to get sick of it,
yeah.
And then who's Gen Y?
The millennials. They just started calling them the millennials because of the new millennium.
So wait, are they millennials or are they Gen Y?
They're the same.
Don't have to get upset. I was asking you a question.
It's the same group of people.
It's got you on edge, doesn't it? This whole thing has you on edge, which is obvious. It's because you fell for the traffic film parody, isn't it? You feel bad.
That's what it is.
You feel bad. Then you thought Stacy Keach is Donald Sutherland. Stacy Keach would like a word with you out back. Wait a minute. Is he still above ground? Is Stacy Keach dead? Hey Siri, is Stacy Keach alive or dead?
Stacy Keach was born June 2nd, 1941, and is 84 years old.
All right. Wow. Siri was useful for 15 seconds. Who knew? All right, go back to sleep. So anyway, if we actually told people what the consequences of their actions would be, I don't know, they may think twice before doing it. And if you have stupid people like Dinglenuts McStupid here, although Ron, you're right, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what the results of her inflammatory rhetoric, her propaganda.
Oh yeah, if Biden was doing the same thing, she would not be saying these things. This is TDS at its greatest right here.
You need to come up with a different way of saying that because I hate using the word great when it refers to these tards. She is, would you classify her as evil in this case? Is she evil? Does she have a dark soul?
I don't know that she has a dark soul. I think, and I'm not even,
she's black,
I'm not even quite certain I would use evil. It's almost to me, it's uneducated because ICE is a legal entity. Now, are they allowed to make arrests and do other things? Only in certain circumstances. But she should know this.
Whoa. What do you mean? Back up. What you just said. Can they make arrests?
Yeah, ICE can
make arrests in any circumstance.
Arrests, but they can only make them in certain circumstances.
That's untrue.
They're not standard law enforcement. They have jurisdictional, and they can only make arrests in certain circumstances.
Like what would be a circumstance they couldn't make an arrest in?
traffic violations.
I don't know if that's true. I think I don't know that they had that limitation on them. Pretty sure. Can ICE officers see? ICE officers can, okay, right, for routine traffic violations. So what you're saying then is that when they came up and they told her to get out of the way, they didn't have the right to do that. They didn't have the authority to tell her to get out of the car. If that's the case.
I don't know that that's what I'm saying. I just know that standard traffic violations like, hey, you're speeding, pull over, let me give you a ticket. ICE is not jurisdictionally allowed to do that. But to move her out of the road if she's blocking their path, get out of the car. I mean, yeah, they probably have arrest capabilities there. I mean, they can arrest the protesters that are throwing shit at their car too.
See, now you're treading into weird. Mind of Zoe says they can only arrest federal crimes. Is that correct? Obstruction of justice is a federal crime in that case. Do federal agents or ICE have legal authority to pull you over?
I don't think they do.
The interweb says yes and no. While in the performance of their immigration duties, if they witness you commit any federal offense, they can pull you over and arrest you.
There you go.
Powers of immigration officers and employees. Powers without warrant, any officer or employee of the service authorized under regulations. I hate legalese. Under regulations prescribed by the Attorney General shall have the power without warrant to make arrests for any offense against the United States if the offense is committed in the officer's or employee's presence. I mean, technically, you and I as citizens
can make citizens
have the authority to make an arrest. I mean, that
it's whether or not we can carry it out is the question.
Right. That falls under FAFO and stupid games.
Yeah.
Just because it's the right thing to do doesn't mean it's the smart thing to do. Are you willing to pay the price if it goes sideways? Let's see. ICE officers. Power of immigration officers, and this is U.S. Code 1357, by the way, from which I'm reading. Powers of immigration officer employees for any offense against the United States if the offense is committed in the officer's or employee's presence, or for any felony cognizable under the laws of the United States if the officer or employee has reasonable grounds to believe that the person to be arrested has committed or is committing such a felony. If the officer or employee, this is why legal is hard.
It is, and that's and
because
it's also
you have to parse words so deeply.
Why 9 times out of 10, if you see customs and enforcement or immigration officers doing a job, there will typically be local law enforcement or highway patrol with them.
Say that one more time.
When ICE is carrying out their duties, their jobs, you'll typically see local law enforcement or highway patrol with them.
Jurisdictional,
correct. Because they can do things that the ICE officers can't.
And doesn't that get back to the importance of sheriff being the last line in the sand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which takes us full circle back to...
It's a scary freaking thought when you realize that a sheriff doesn't have a boss. They have to follow the law, but they don't have a boss. Their boss is all of the people who elected them. They don't have to answer to anybody.
Let's see here. What is her name again? Why can't I remember her name? Rochelle Bilal. Does she sound like a foreigner?
I don't know.
She does, doesn't she? Sounds like a foreigner. But again, she was elected, like I said, with 73%. I'll pull that up here for you so you can see what I am seeing. This is from Ballotpedia, and it's important. Why elections matter. Why getting out, look at that. 2023 general election. Incumbent Rochelle Bilal defeated Mark Lavelle in the general election for Philly Sheriff, November 7th, 2023. So 2 years and some change ago. 73.7%. 199,000 votes versus 69,000 votes. Now I'm going to suggest, and I may be wrong, but I'm going to suggest you're going to find a great percentage of those 199,000 votes black. Just a guess. Wouldn't you say this probably falls along racial lines, especially in Philly? Because it certainly seems like it would. But again, the importance of getting involved in elections. I'm not saying that it could have been a different result when you are dealing with a deficit of 120,000 votes. I mean, that's a good-sized city right there. But it certainly, again, you don't want to go down without a fight or a shower. Thank you. Was Missy 13 saying, Marine in the Woods says soon Marines will be deployed. When you have some buffoon on television getting out there and stirring up the locals the way that this woman has, but then you've got that whole sheriff thing. Wombat Mommy, in other words, don't F around with any law enforcement while on duty. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to listen to the person with the gun, especially if their hand is near it and they have a badge. Mind of Zoe, those voters wanted some of that. What's GAT? Am I going to regret saying GAT, Black Girl Magic? I don't know what GAT means. Hobo Joe, 61, in Illinois, the coroner could arrest the sheriff under certain circumstances. Really? That's interesting. But again, the importance not only of elections, but the importance of understanding, or at least attempting to understand, the laws of the country and the state, which most people don't, which goes back to, I'm going to throw this one in there because I want to. Auditors, the people you see on YouTube and other video platforms who are out there on the sidewalk videotaping, I don't know, the sheriff's station or whatever, and they come out and you can't be videotaped. Yes, I can. I'm on public property. The reason I think that is so important, can some of them be dicks while they're doing it? Absolutely. But the reason it's so important is because those people, in general, blanket statement, have looked at the laws and are following, again, I'm going to make a blanket statement, I know there are exceptions, are following the law, and they're doing it to make a point that they know in those particular cases more about the law than the actual law enforcement person does. And it should be shameful for those law enforcement officers to not understand and or know the law like those people out there on the sidewalk with a video camera videotaping the cars in the parking lot. Do I understand the Leo's side of things? Yep, I sure do, because you're videotaping their cars, etc. And they don't want retribution, especially these days in this society in which we find ourselves living. They don't want the dumb people to go out there and try to retribute against them. They don't want to put their families in danger, which this ICE officer now, from what I understand, he's like in a safe house somewhere. The bunch of officers went to his house, and they were seen taking pictures and his computer and boxes of stuff, presumably clothes and things like that, taking them out of the house and going to some other place that where he could be safely with his family. Again, it's a very, very dangerous and difficult situation in which to find yourself. Wade Robertson says, and a cherry air freshener. Which always makes things better, doesn't it? I think. I'm not so sure if it's cherry that I prefer the new car smell, quite frankly, when it comes to an air freshener. There's something, but either that or like vanilla, because it is the finest of the flavors. Michaela's mom says, Missy, it's just a matter of time before this. Excuse me, a matter of time before that is all brought. Ron, you're going to have to give me You're going to have to sift through these comments and find out which ones are because I'm having a hard time going in there, and apparently I've either had a stroke.
It's like they don't thread them together, so you gotta.
Well, that's why maybe you can find some that are worthy of putting together and putting out there. That way, I don't have to try to figure out what the hell they're saying. Is anybody over in the absolutely Lord Grump? She is committing a felony over in the Daily Mojo YouTube. Haven't said that in a while. Chat room. Want to bet my blood on the asphalt. Right. And Tiger Tame 4. Ours was Signal 30. The traffic could be back in 1974. Dingle Nuts McStupid. Yes, John Reed. Dingle Nuts McStupid. Everybody has one. In with good air. Out with the bad air. Sorry, I'm looking at Phil's. This is an interesting. Did Sheriff Mack write a book?
I don't know.
There's a book on Phil Bell's bookshelf. It's called Hughes by Richard Mack. And it's Sheriff Richard Mack. And I'm thinking, well, that's weird. I didn't realize that he had written a book. Who knew?
He's got several. The Magic of Gun Control. Yeah, he's got a few.
Oh, darn. Well, you know what? I don't know if Dr. Stella has written a book either. But I know one thing for sure. She puts out some good drugs. Yep. That's right. I said it. Some good drugs. You can find them over at stellasmojo.com. Whether it's the ivermectin or the hydroxychloroquine, which were such controversial topics back in the days of the Rona, in the days of wine and roses. But today, if you need to get the script written for either the Ivor or the hydroxy, I don't know if you need a prescription for hydroxy or not. Right. But if you need either of those, you can stop by stellasmojo.com. You can also get the Covita spray, which just gives your immune system a nice little kick in the keister and keeps you operating at the fullest capacity possible. You can find it all at stellasmojo.com, and when you use the promo code DailyMojo, you will get 5% off your purchase price. You save a little money, you will feel healthier, and it's all thanks to Dr. Stella. And as we say,
feeling like you've lost your spark. Nothing moves you just in park.
Right?
Get it back with just one call. 866-ASK-5400.
I don't know what that was. 866-ASK-5400. That's what we were looking for there. That's the stellasmojo.com.
Oh! Boots on the floor, coffee in hand, spin that dial, we start the band.
Boots, check. Keys, check. Attitude, check. We'll take it from here.
Sun comes up, headlines burn, mic goes live, we take our turn. Bradley J. Staggs laughing busting at the seams, talking big talk about big wild daily mojo. Bang that drum, chasing down that American dream. One job, one job, wrong. You had one job wrong. Daily mojo, beat that chest. Well, our broke, we still believe. One job, wrong. We're chasing that American dream.
The Daily Mojo.
Daily mojo. Daily mojo.
WD-40. You know what the magic ingredient is in that?
No.
Any idea? A lot of people thought it was fish oil. Don't you remember that it used to be, it's a fish oil, but no, there's no fish oil. Because I saw that because Wade over in the Rumble chat room says WD smells amazing, so does turtle wax. Turtle wax does have an interesting smell to it. Oh, it smells amazing. But WD-40, I'd always heard it was fish oil that was in there. No, that's just a myth. Yeah. Stemming from its perceived effectiveness as a lure attractant by some anglers, though its use in water is discouraged due to it being a pollutant. So you should not spritz your lures with WD-40 to try to catch more fish. There you go. See, don't say we don't teach you anything on the program here. I saw this, and we were just talking about masks, and this is a case of the video is called "This Guy is a Genius." And what is it? I mean, he looks like he's doing what? Anybody? Anybody?
It's small enough that I can't really tell what's in his hands.
Doesn't it look like a mask? Doesn't it look like he's trying to put a mask on as underpants? Because that's what it looked like
maybe,
to me.
yeah.
I'm like, this guy's a genius, and there's a mask on his underpants. What the? No, I don't think that's what it was. And spoiler alert, it's not even in the video. But I saw this, and I thought, some of these are actually really good ideas.
These are some clothes-drying tricks that even my mom didn't know.
All right.
First, hang your bras upside down so the straps don't stretch out.
Do you do that, Ron?
No.
Okay. You don't hang your bras upside down? Oh, he's put them on with the straps over the...
Don't hang your underwear straight down because water collects in the crotch area. Hang them at an angle instead.
I thought that was a good idea.
When drying clothes outside, cross two hangers so the wind can't blow them away.
And I'm ignoring the AI voice. This is like the most overused AI voice because I guess it comes up first in the list when you're doing an AI. If you're going to have the AI do the voiceover for you, it just pops up. But wait a second. Does that look like a fish? It does, doesn't it? See the eyeball right there? See the eyeball and see the mouth? Does that not look like a fish?
Oh, I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fish. We mentioned fish. Tell me your phone's not listening to you.
Right.
It heard me talking about fish in WD-40, and then it puts a picture of a fish up.
Sweaters lose their shape if you hang them normally. So slide the...
This is amazing. This is a great idea.
Sleeves through the hanger for support. For hoodies, use a second hanger to hold...
Was that not a great idea?
It was a great idea because they'll fall off the hanger, yeah.
I mean, you really should pass these tips on to the woman in your house, Ron, so that they can, when they do the laundry, that they can do some of these things. I mean, it's a great time saver for them, and they'll have more time to make you sandwiches.
Hold the hood open so it dries faster. Jeans also dry quicker if you use two hangers to open the waistband.
That's another great idea.
When drying a bath towel, fold the top edge over the hanger to make it more breathable.
Yep.
Tie two hangers together with zip ties and you can easily dry pillows or stuffed toys. And if you place a few hangers inside the drying rod, you can prop open a duvet cover so it dries super fast.
I thought all of those were actual, because a lot of these things, when you see a lot of these quote unquote tips on YouTube, I think a lot of them are completely bogus. But in this case, I thought, man, those are some really good ideas. I was impressed. And every now and then, a blind squirrel finds an acorn. a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Okay.
Tell me, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. No.
Are you not going to pass those along to the woman in your house so when she does the laundry, she can save some time, therefore giving her more of the time needed to make you the perfect
let
sandwich?
Her figure those out on her own. Probably not a good plan for me to pass them along.
You don't really think she's smart enough to figure it out on her own, do you? Come on.
She's smart enough.
She must be standing in the room right behind you.
Nope.
Blink twice if you need help.
But I don't want her standing in the room right behind me.
Blink twice if you need help. Jay Reed says, Ron wears a man's ear, not a bra. A bro, if you will. Thank you, Backwater. Missy13 says, LOL, is this hanging clothes for dummies? As a woman, you should already be, if you weren't aware of these tips, Missy, I'm just saying, look back on some of the relationship issues you've had, and do you think it may be because the duvet wasn't quite as dry as it should have been? That's all I'm going to say. And Wade says, I've noticed colors fade really quickly when air drying clothes from the sun. That's another good point. Who obviously Wade got that from the woman who was doing his laundry. And noticed that the colors were fading, and then Wade went to her and it's like, hey, why are you fading all of my clothes? And she's like, look, I'm putting them out in the sun the way you want them, and they're fading. And it took a man to come up with it's the sun's rays that are actually doing the fading of the clothing. All I'm going to say. There, again, I had to do something, not only to make sure that we taught people a few things, but also to get the taste of that sheriff out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Because that was just going to irritate me beyond all belief. I have a special guest coming up on the program, Tim Barton from Wallbuilders. We're going to talk to him in just a moment here on the Daily Mojo.
If you're offended, you're listening wrong. The Daily Mojo.
Bat Quarter says coat hangers solve relationships. Wow, that's a thinking man's. That is so wrong, Bat Quarter. So Wade says no. Wade got that from being a broke-ass single man right after college with a busted dryer and needed some dry clean clothes. That's another thing that if you notice that dry cleaners, dry cleaners in this area are going out of business, and I don't know if that's because of the chemical situation or what, but I've noticed that there aren't a lot of people or a lot of dry cleaners open these days. All right, please welcome to the program a longtime friend of the program, Tim Barton, the president of Wallbuilders. Tim, good to see you again. It's been a hot minute since we've been in the same building together, but how are you, my friend?
I'm well. Good to see you.
And I've known your dad for a long time. Your reputation precedes you. You guys do fabulous work over at Wallbuilders, and certainly do appreciate. Actually, the funny thing, when I first came to Dallas, I remember I didn't fully understand back to work over at the Blaze, and I didn't fully understand the real battle that was going on in the world and in the country of right versus left and also light versus dark. And I remember there were some things being said about your dad, and I was like, well, that doesn't seem right. And after doing research, I was like, well, yeah, they're wrong. And this goes back to like 2012, 2013. I don't know if you remember any of those controversies, but it's amazing. And I've since then I've educated myself, and I was never really, I always liked history, but I wasn't a real student of history. You and your dad both make learning history not only tolerable but enjoyable. And I think if more people, took that approach and understood that history can be fascinating, we'd have a lot different situation in this country than we do right now, especially in the political scene. Wouldn't you say that education is the key?
Yeah, and there's no doubt. To your point, most of us probably, no slam on the coaches that probably taught our history classes, but most of us went through a history class where we weren't really given a lot of stories and a lot of truth for the people that really should be honored and celebrated, the sacrifices remembered. And so I think a lot of what we see today, to your point, back in 2012, we were like the beginning of the cancel culture movement. My dad was saying things about the founding fathers, about how actually the majority of them weren't anti-slavery and they were these honorable men. And, all these woke professors were like, how dare you disagree with us? It was like, maybe in 2020 when somebody decided we weren't going to wear like the face diapers, right? We took the mask off and they're like, you can't do that. Well, now I think people are recognizing, wait a second, there are some people that are, these experts that don't know the truth or maybe have just an ulterior motive and agenda, and they're being very dishonest. And so it's definitely a different culture these days. But now most people are also recognizing there is a real battle for truth and why it matters. Is the government going to be the one ultimately that's the superpower in our life? Or is there a divine creator who our rights come from? Who gets to be in charge? Where do our rights come from? And I think more people are recognizing some of the significance of these conversations. But yeah, we've been doing this for a lot of years, and education is key. Most people don't know how poor their education has been. Although I think COVID helped a lot of parents realize how poor education is currently for their kids, realizing how bad, the message their kids were getting actually was, or in some cases, what their kids weren't learning, some basics they should have been learning. But yeah, to your point, education certainly is key, and we've had a very poor education in America for many decades.
I will shout out to my, was he 9th, 10th grade? I think it was California history, may have been American history teacher, Frank Ebner, back in Lancaster, California, because Mr. Ebner, he made it interesting in that when he would tell the stories, he would tell, this cat, he was tired of doing it this way, and he was like, we're going to go down, we're going to figure out he made the story, he made the characters come alive instead of just, teaching dates. And tell me, class, why it was so important that Congress passed this legislation in that year. And, you were trying desperately just to stay awake. But that's what it really takes, is somebody who loves history to teach history. And the American Storybook series, is it volume 2 that is brand new? Which one is coming out now? Are they both being introduced at the same time?
They're both out now. The second one is Building the Republic. So the first volume goes from Columbus up through the American Revolution, approximately. Okay. The second one picks up from like the Constitution through the first 7 presidents. We actually will have a couple new books coming out this year as well. And really, it's diving back in and telling the stories. But for our organization, we have what's considered the largest private collection of original documents from the founding fathers. We actually have handwritten documents from every single signer of the Declaration, every signer of the Constitution, this amazing collection. And so when we tell their story, not only are we telling you what happened, we're actually using a lot of their own writings that would refute a lot of the modern accusations and claims and nonsense being espoused about them. And so each book has more than 1,000 footnotes in it, which is quite significant. Most like academic books have maybe a couple of dozen, maybe 100. And I say that because a lot of what we put in the book is challenging the status quo, but we're challenging it with their actual writings. Like when George Washington in the Farewell Address said, of all the things we could do to help America succeed, religion and morality are the indispensable supports of our political prosperity, meaning like that's the most important thing. And if you would tell somebody today, well, George Washington thought that religion and morality was one of the most important things we could do to preserve America, people would go, wait a second, right? They weren't religious, and separation of church and state. And so we intentionally include not just what they said in their writings, but the footnotes so you can go fact check this in real time. Because the bottom line is the founding fathers were far different than a lot of the modern presentation. They were far more reliant on the divine creator. right? The reality of a God. They actually believed in this notion of equality. They weren't all these white, racist, bigoted slave owners like the accusations are today, et cetera, et cetera. So we go through and literally tell the story. So going through the American Revolution, we don't just tell you names and dates and places. We actually tell some of the stories, like the Battle of Long Island, which is miracle story, the crossing of the Delaware. Again, that's a noted story, but there's a lot of miracles involved in that too. And we recount those miracles by the people that were there that talk about, we didn't think this was going to work. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this fog or this storm comes rolling in, and we unfold the story from the guys who were there, their own accounts. So it really is going back and learning the story, because one of the things that we know fundamentally, we are wired as human beings that we like stories. There's a reason that people can binge a series 8, 10, 12 episodes over a weekend. We love good stories. And so we try to, as the title suggests, go back and just tell the story, the American story, tell the story of America, and really of some of our most noted heroes.
The thing about, and this is an image from the Battle of Long Island, as I like to say, you think about these guys out there using those flintlocks in the way, talk about primitive, and you had to load and one shot, and then you had to duck down to make sure that the guy behind you didn't shoot you in the head. And, it was just, talk about a miserable way to fight. I was just, and the things that these people did. Yeah. Can you see Americans doing that now? That's the part that scares me, is that these guys were so committed. These men and women were so committed to this concept of the United States and it being something different than they all knew from history, that they were willing to go out there and do crazy things like this, to get out there and to put their lives on the line, to risk their family, to risk everything that they owned. It was a different mindset. We've just gotten too comfortable, haven't we?
I think you're completely right. I think, interestingly, if you look at what's happening over in the Middle East, where is it Iraq or Iran, where the revolution is happening right now, right? Where they are literally, they're opposing the government right now. If you have grown up living under tyranny and oppression, but or maybe you're a student of history, maybe you're someone that reads the Bible and you realize, wait a second, that there's other options. We don't have to live this way. I think that's really where the founding fathers came from, where they recognized that we don't have to live a life as subjects where somebody else, the government, tells us what we can do, where we can go, who we can hang out with, where we can be. Like all the things that happened during COVID, that should have been one of the biggest wake-up calls. Wait a second, the government's not allowed to tell us these things. We, the people, are in charge. The founding fathers, as they're unfolding these ideas in their culture, they knew that this could cost them everything, their lives, fortune, sacred honor. But for the sake of their posterity, they knew it was worth the sacrifice. And I think we've become so accustomed and complacent in just navigating our life, letting somebody else make decisions for us, do things for us. I don't know that we have the grit necessary, but I think a lot of people are waking up to this. During the American Revolution, it was less than 10% that actually engaged in opposition to the British. So I think there's at least 10% of Americans maybe waking up to this reality. It doesn't take the majority. It takes a dedicated minority willing to stand up for truth, having the courage to do the hard thing and navigate the opposition, which is what the founding fathers did. But it, to your point, takes an awful lot of grit. And we don't have a culture that encourages toughness or grit anymore. So it's going to be a challenge.
Well, and you brought up a great point. It's just that 10%. Ironically, it's that small percentage of people on the left who are out there screaming and doing the crazy things, and it's getting the attention, and it's moving their cause down the field. And again, I do believe it's a minority of these people. The problem is you've got a media that's amplifying it. You've got a government that is complicit in propping up that side, because let's face it, we're almost at the same point in this country now that they were probably past the point. Back in those times when the government was so oppressive and you had a king telling you what to do and taking your money and doing things without your consent, things you didn't want him doing with the money, that's where we are. We're right back in that same boat now, here 250 years later, and we've just kind of been lulled back into a sense of complacency. And it's going to be really, I want to believe that, like you said, I want to believe that we do have even that tiny percentage of people who are willing to fight. But isn't it a different kind of ball game now? Aren't we fighting a far more powerful entity in the federal government than we were fighting the king, or is it relative?
I think it is relative because Great Britain was the number one military power in the world at the time of the founding fathers. And so in essence, it's a very similar concept. It's different today in some regards, although I see a lot of similarities because like Dwight Eisenhower warned about when he was leaving office, his farewell address, he talked about the military industrial complex. People might know and remember that one, but he talked about the science industrial complex. And he went through several things and said, we got to be careful. If we let these institutions get so big, they're going to be the things that are dictating and directing so much of what happens in our daily life. And this is exactly where we are, where there are corporations and organizations, industries that are directing so much of what is happening. But it is worth going back again and noting the small minority that can make a significant difference. Because I would remind people when President Obama ran his first term, 2008, he actually said, hey, we believe that marriage is a man and woman. Like, this is obvious. We all know that. 2012, he said, well, my position's kind of evolving on this. I just want to remind people, it was like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, that even the Democrats out loud were saying, hey, like transgender, that's a crazy thought. Marriage, that's a man and woman. Like homosexuality, that's a fringe movement. Well, go back and look at percentage. Right? The percentage of Americans that were promoting or accepting of that, or that were actually identifying as that compared to where we are today. And I say that again, because when you have a dedicated minority who is willing to be vocal and be loud, who's willing to work to influence change, you can influence change with a dedicated minority, but you have to keep showing up. You have to keep being a voice, which obviously, right, the things that you are doing, that we are doing, being a voice, encouraging and challenging people to stand up for the right thing, for truth in some of these moments. Those voices do matter because a dedicated minority can change the trajectory of a future, just like the rudder on a boat, right? It changes the direction it goes. It can make a difference, but change is going to come oftentimes at a cost because there's often opposition. There's going to be sacrifice involved, and that could be financial, capital, whatever that looks like. But there's no doubt that a dedicated minority can make a significant difference.
I mean, you just brought up a great point. There's always going to be a price. And that's what I think, and I feel the same way, that people are exhausted. You have to do so much today just to pay the mortgage, just to make the car payment, all of those things. And granted, you can choose to get a used car and to live more or less expensively than maybe what you are living. That's a personal choice. But at the end of the day, people have used all of their energy. And it's hard to gather up enough steam to get out there and try to literally fight the system. And how do you, I mean, where do you, and how do you motivate people to get to realize that this is worth trying to find that extra bit of energy to get out there and make a stand, to be part of the solution? How do you get people to realize that?
Yeah, I think we have to redefine the expectation to some extent. As you mentioned, I mean, people are exhausted. Our lives are not easy. Even though we have more benefits and more technology, the fact that we have air conditioning, the fact that we have hot water and running water and can take showers and baths, like there's so many amazing things about our life. We take them for granted because that's been a norm for most of us. I remember talking with my grandparents when I was a kid, and they would talk about, man, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have running water. They would go out to the outhouse. They'd have to go to the pump and pump water. We're not that far removed. We have so many blessings in the life that we have, but our life, we have so consumed ourselves with not only paying the bills, which is incredibly difficult for so many people today, but also, I mean, you have kids and sports and there's so many activities right now. And I think we have to redefine some of the norm and the expectation, because if one of the things Ronald Reagan said is that freedom is a fragile thing. It's never more than a generation away from extinction. And I think one of the lies we've been told is that the American dream really is that we can get stuff and then just sit back and enjoy it and do nothing. But freedom is an active, it's not a passive thing, it's an active thing. And if we are not actively engaged in this, then it can be a very fragile thing, like Reagan said, and taken away, because there's always people that have power, except for like George Washington. People that have power do not relinquish power in their own capacity, generally speaking. People, if they get power and money, they want more power, they want more money. And this is the danger of the political trap, that we have people that are seeking to elevate themselves because they want power and money, and the check and balance on them is we the people. But if we've been sold the idea that the American dream is to make some money and sit back and retire and relax and not be involved, we are allowing the people with bad intentions who want power and money to put themselves in a place where they can maintain their position of power and money. And I think at some point we have to figure out, number one, what is the hill we're going to die on? And number two, what price are we willing to pay for not ourselves, for our kids and our grandkids? And at some point, like, there were some parents waking up being like, you know what? I'm tired of, for example, in our kids, the number one sex education provider for public schools, right? So sex education has been a more modern construct. It's really been since the 60s, and that's kind of been a new thing, because it used to be like, we grew up in the country, and people that had animals, like, you understood the reproductive process and kind of how it worked, right? Like, but in the sexual revolution, we said, we need to make sure kids like know how this thing works. But the reason I bring this up, the number one sex ed provider in public schools is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, they're the ones that their industry is abortion. So what do you think they're promoting to kids? Have more sex, right? So that there's more pregnancies, so that our industry of abortion continues. There's so much of a dark trail to this, which I don't think we have to get into today. But the point is, when parents start realizing, wait a second, I'm not letting you like put pornography in front of my kids, when literally, I don't mean to be graphic on this, so I'll try to filter how we say this, but like,
go for it.
They're giving how-tos of how to have safe anal sex for 8th graders.
Yep.
I don't want my 8th grader learning this in school. What are we doing? At some point, parents have to go, what's the hill I'm going to die on? And I will die on the hill of protecting kids, right? Of protecting some degree of their innocence, of like, I will die on this hill. We have to figure out where our boundaries are, where the lines are, and then we have to open our eyes to see where those lines are being crossed, where they're being violated. I'm not going to let the government tell me that I can or can't go to church because there's a pandemic. I'm not going to let the government tell me that I can or can't go to work. Like, at some point, what is the hill we're going to die on? Because I would say, if we back up and look at the Declaration of Independence, that there was 27 reasons they said we're separating from the king. Go back and reread those grievances, because virtually every single one the government is doing today, the reason the founding father said, we're breaking off from this tyrannical government, our government is doing those today. But if we don't know that the government is crossing those lines, if we haven't delineated what those lines are and what we're going to defend, then those lines will be crossed on the frequent. And we've embraced the false ideology that our ideal is to sit back and relax for our enjoyment while the world goes to hell in a handbasket, making it worse for our kids and our grandkids. At some point, we have to start thinking more about the future generation than just our own enjoyment. And we have to define the lines that we are going to defend and the hill we will die on.
I was just looking up the year you were born. I literally could be your dad. Wow. But I'm a little older than you. I was born in 1964. So in 1976, the 200th anniversary of the United States of America, the 200th birthday, it was a grand celebration. I remember being very patriotic, and I've talked about this before on the show, that it was, we had scenes of the American Revolution painted on the ends of our school buildings, and fire hydrants were painted red, white, and blue. And it was a happy, it was a joyous celebration. Somewhere between then and now, things have gotten completely sideways. We were playing the sheriff of Philadelphia, Rochelle Ballal, and her speech about ICE being, fake law enforcement. I mean, getting out there and just basically lying to the people,
Right.
which is very dangerous, obviously, for anybody, but for a sheriff to be doing that. And I started wondering, back in the day of George Washington, were there people out there who were doing things like what she, as the sheriff, is doing, completely lying to the population to the extent that they could, because obviously they didn't have CNN and cable television and all of the wonderful things that we enjoy today. But were there people like that, of that ilk, back in the day when we were trying to become a nation, out there shouting from the rooftops, lies and things like that, going against what our founding fathers were trying to get accomplished?
Yeah, unquestionably there were. There have always been people that have been liars. But the difference was, in the Founding Fathers era, they actually had a different kind of educational structure and system. They didn't teach kids what to think. They taught them how to think. They had courses on logic and courses on reason. So you start off with a basic premise that I'm going to question and I'm going to challenge, and you can defend your position, but I'm not just going to receive it because you said. One of the things that's happened in our modern education system is we've been taught to trust the experts. And this is a thing when the PhD program came to America, this is what introduced that, because it wasn't until the early 1900s that there was any PhD in America. You could have a master's degree, but everybody that got a degree went and practiced in that field. And then there were people saying, wait a second, we should just have like the experts that we ask them the questions and we trust their answers, introducing the PhD program. And since the PhD program, we have now been taught largely by the PhDs, well, you should trust me because I have a degree, right? That's what Dr. Fauci said, right? Just trust the science, don't question the science. We've been taught to trust the experts. And so when you see someone that has a uniform, an officer, right, they're behind the podium and we're just going to trust the experts. The difference is in the Founding Fathers era, when one of the loyalist appointed British leaders got up to talk, you had the Patrick Henrys, right? You had the Founding Fathers who were like, you're a liar. Here's why we should never trust you. Here's why what you're saying doesn't make sense. Here's why we should go the exact opposite direction. And people, because they'd been taught how to think, they would listen, they would analyze. And one of the easiest examples that we can recognize as I'm saying this in our culture, the reason I can know for a fact that our kids are not being taught how to think, but rather what to think, is the fact that the polling right now suggests that it's like 75% of college students have a favorable view of socialism, thinking that will bring economic stability and prosperity and equality for all citizens. And all you have to do is, like, for half a second, go look at history to go, hey, has socialism ever increased the nation's prosperity? Has it ever increased personal freedom, individual freedom? And the obvious answer is no, it never has. Well, then why would these college kids think it is? Because they haven't been taught how to think. They've been taught what to think. And that's why it's so much more challenging for our society and generation, by the way. Not that these college kids are out of reach, because you can ask them some questions to challenge them, to make them think, and they can still arrive at good conclusions. But they've been taught and reinforced over and over and over, you need to trust the experts. And by the way, your parents, kids, your parents, they're not the experts. They're not professionals. They weren't trained in this. We were. So listen to us, not your parents. Parents, we're being undermined all the live long day by these institutions, these academics, these areas. And so we do have to be careful that we are helping our kids learn how to think, not just what to think, but be problem solvers, be critical thinkers. And this is why this never would have worked in the founding era, because they were teaching people how to critically think, how to have logic and apply reason in what they were doing. And we just don't do that anymore, but it's been intentional because there's been a whole movement that wants us to just trust them so they maintain power and control. And this is what we have to help our kids overcome by teaching them how to think and be critical thinkers.
Well, the reason socialism hasn't worked in the past is because it wasn't democratic socialism. That's why. I mean, anybody can tell you that. It's if we just do democratic socialism, it'll be, which, by the way, the meeting of the Democratic Socialists of America, do you remember, was it been 3 or 4 years, maybe longer than that? They had that meeting and it was on YouTube and recorded. It was gold. I
Yes.
mean, you had. Let's see if I can find the gender one.
They were comrades. Yeah, they were comrades.
Yeah, it was. Gosh, where did that go? I had it somewhere, but it was the don't. It was please don't use gender. That. Oh, there it is, right there. Sorry, it was this particular soundbite.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
That came from the Democrat Socialists of America, and they're fabulous. I wish they had had another one, but I think they learned their lesson, surprisingly, not to do that again. And when you said when you brought up the Thomas Jefferson quote, question everything, even the very existence of God, I found it ironic as all get out that there is a podcast over on NPR called Question Everything. They're very good, and I think we can all agree that that NPR is a fabulous source of leftist information, even though they try to say that they're very fair and very middle. It's a bunch of crap. But they're very good at trying to, or at telling everybody, no, we believe, question everything, except for Fauci and science and all of this. And by the way, thank you. I did not know that about the PhD program. That's a gem right there. So that was created basically so that propaganda would stick.
So that we would have somebody we could ask how to answer or solve whatever question we had. So we needed the experts we could trust. And that's part of what happened in these institutions. It wasn't we were getting PhDs so we would have better medical doctors, right? Like, no, this was academic institutional knowledge. So this was like your encyclopedia. You go ask them and they tell you the answer. The problem obviously comes very quickly when now they're smarter than everybody else. And by the way, when you have guys like Woodrow Wilson, who gave a speech, and one of the lines from the speech really, like, bulbs should be going off in people's heads when he said, the purpose of a college should be to make a child as unlike their father as possible. So what are we trying to accomplish here? Right? But that's exactly what colleges have done. And most parents have no idea how woke institutions have become or what so many of their agendas are. And this is not to say there's not good professors or good universities, but overall, the majority of what universities do are not help our students become better Americans, better husbands, better fathers, better parents, better people in the workplace. It's really a mind virus of woke indoctrination that happens at most universities.
It's crazy. And the other thing before I let you go, the fact that we as Americans and the great American experiment was that we get our rights, not from the government, not from the king, not from a band of idiots. We get our rights from God. And they can't be taken away by man because they didn't come from man. And I don't think a lot of people understand how important that is.
Yeah, it's also one of the reasons when people talk about the founding fathers being secular or separation of church and state, or they were these atheists, agnostics, and deists, there's such a misunderstanding on so many levels of all of those. And this is not the time to unfold that, but I do want to say all those are wrong. But this is the easy thing to point to. We can never in America have a secular government because if there is no God, there are no God-given rights. And the bottom line for the founding fathers, their starting place is that our rights don't come from the government, they come from God. In fact, the role of the government is to make sure our God-given rights are protected. Like, that's their number one job, not to give us rights, to make sure that we are protected to enjoy our God-given rights. Our rights don't come from government, they come from God, which means we cannot have a secular government because if there is no God, there are no God-given rights. But that's also why we have a government currently, or maybe even Democratic Party currently, who's saying, oh, no, we don't want God in government. Why would they want to remove a God that gives you rights? Because if there is no God that gives you rights, then they're the ones that get to determine what your rights are or aren't. And that's ultimately the play of the socialists, the communists, the Marxists, and the Democrats. But I repeat myself.
Tim Barton, it has been a pleasure. I wish it hadn't been so long since last we spoke, and I know Beth is talking with you about doing some other things, and and not to put you on the spot, but we, for a long time here on the Daily Mojo, have wanted either you or your dad to have done basically these little Wallbuilders minutes, which would even give us little tidbits like the PhD program. And so I want to just kind of light that fuse so that maybe y'all can talk further and get that rolling. But in the meantime, people can get the American Story book series over at Wallbuilders, correct?
Yes, they sure can. Wallbuilders.com.
And you are on, I see you're on X. Do you do social media much, or do you hate social media like Ron Phillips does?
No, we're all over social media trying to help get the word out of some of the truth of American history. So you can find us pretty much on any platform on social media.
Cool. Tim, once again, thank you. Did I miss anything? Anything you want to add before I let you go?
No, it was great, and look forward to hanging out with you again in the future.
I think that would be fabulous. I will hold you to that. Tim Barton, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Wallbuilders.com. Thank you for making it interesting and even enjoyable to learn about American history. More of the Daily Mojo next.
The Daily Mojo, making mornings bright with Brad and Ron. They keep it funky tight. News, laughs, and the moves that feel so right. It's the Daily Mojo, keeping the world in sight.
The Daily Mojo.
It's little things like the PhD program that Tim Barton told us about. We were just speaking with him. The PhD program, the Doctor of Philosophy degree, that I had no idea that that's why it was created. Now, will the mainstream media, will the interweb tell you that particular aspect of it when you question everything, as Thomas Jefferson told us, question everything, even the very existence of God? When you look at everything through that lens, it changes pretty much everything that you have been or were taught in school. If you look at social media and ask why was the PhD program created, it will say it's a research-oriented terminal degree requiring an original contribution to knowledge, originated in 19th century Europe, specifically with the establishment of the University of Berlin, blah, 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 blah. But the long and short of it, the nutshell, the elevator explanation of the PhD program, if you will, and maybe it was benign, and or even they thought that they were being helpful to create these experts from which you could gain knowledge and or inspiration about any particular topic or political discussion, that there would be somebody to go to that you could, hey, nutshell it for me. But that is, again, why the reason it was started, and the reason that it the reason for it being in existence today could be completely at opposite ends of the spectrum.
Would you not agree that prior to 2020, that was probably 80 to 85% correct, in that PhDs are the people we went to for as experts for a specific topic? But after
I think when you have a PhD behind your name, I think it shows that you have studied something.
Yeah.
I think that you can still do that. I don't think that everybody who has a PhD is trying to con us. I think you have particularly people like Dr. Fauci who have such an ego and are so completely arrogant, and by the way, who have shorty syndrome, major shorty syndrome, the Napoleon complex, that he just can't stand it if you question him.
Well,
that I think the whole system has been perverted. I think it goes back way beyond 2020. Again, the curtain has been pulled back since 2015, thanks to Donald Trump.
Okay. I can go with that. I think prior to that, though, PhD holders had some level of respect. But for me,
I think they can still have that. I don't think they're
because
all,
a lot of it has to do with,
they're not all evil.
a lot of it has to do with, their capabilities.
It just shows that they've studied a great deal of whatever subject it is.
Understand the information. But
doesn't even mean that. It just means that they were able to remember it long enough to pass the test.
After 2020, though, MDs, PhDs, all of that made me start thinking what we as a society assumed were good answers when PhDs and MDs gave them to us. All that got called into question during COVID to me, because that's when you had MDs arguing with each other, PhDs arguing with each other. Who's right?
Well, I've never been a fan of the AMA because you go back and the AMA hates chiropractors.
Well, yeah.
They can't stand chiropractors because chiropractors are kind of, I won't say they're the antithesis of the AMA, but they certainly take a different approach to your health, as in, your body has what it needs for the most part to keep itself healthy. You just have to keep your body in good shape to be able to heal itself. Whereas the AMA is like, oh yeah, we have a pill for that. Yeah. And they give you a pill. And believe me, I'm all about pharmaceutical health and pharmaceutical recreation for that matter. You do you, boo. But I think that they have taken, you follow the money, and you'll see that the AMA is about keeping the AMA in power and swimming in the money. Again, the AI's answer to why was the Doctor of Philosophy program launched? Our boy G-Rock says, in essence, the PhD's launch in America was a strategic response to globalization, industrialization, and a desire for academic self-sufficiency, transforming U.S. higher education from a colonial import into a world leader. By the early 20th century, American PhDs had surpassed European models in scale and accessibility, though this also sowed seeds for later challenges like oversupply of graduates. And that's the other problem, is that the education system has eaten itself. It was being used, and Hitler Youth showed this, that you got to get them young. Get them when they are young skulls full of mush, so that you can teach them your particular brand of politics, of worldview, etc. And once you had people putting all of their kids into a mass collection unit, i.e. the public school system, it was genius. I don't know if it was genius. It was right there in front of you. It was pretty obvious. Hey, we can shape the future. We can get these kids to believe anything we want to. We all have to be on the same page in the education system, hence the Department of Education. You put it up at the very top of the pyramid up there, and it filters out, and you've got all the kids in all of the states all around the country being taught the same rhetoric and the same propaganda, and you've raised your own army. But people's eyes have been open to all of this stuff, and it's finally people are questioning. I just hope that it's not too late, that we're all questioning, again, everything, even the very existence of God. But we'll see.
What do you mean it's last call?
That right there concludes 2 hours of audio deliciousness and probing, some gentle probing. We like to call it the Daily Mojo. This happens to be for Wednesday, the hump day, the 14th day of January, the year of our Lord 2026. I looked over here and I saw where Wade said the AMA is good. I love the American Meteorological Association. Thank you. Exactly. I don't even trust them anymore. I mean, you get a meteorological degree to be able to tell the weather. And how often do they get that right? I don't even know if they know that they're lying. They just make shit up.
Lawyers and meteorologists. They get away with it every day.
Missy13 says, yeah, well, so does everybody else on the mainstream media. I don't know how anyone can work in a research lab with animals. Okay. Original Babe says chiropractors take business from the money-stealing medical industry. Yes, that's exactly it. That's why. Plus, I think that you find a chiropractor really does do it, I think, for at least the ones that I've met in my lifetime, they do it because they want to help heal people. And I'm not saying that all doctors are evil, because I don't think they are. But a lot of them...
Your osteopathic doctors do it because they want to do the whole body thing. They don't...
Now, if you look at crack addicts,
yes,
and that's a YouTube channel, if you look at them, I would suggest that there are a couple of other motivations for becoming a chiropractor.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave it right there and let you discover as you will. Pope Preview the 38th over in the Daily MoJo First Amendment room has posted a couple of interesting memes. I'll have to look into those. And frankly speaking, says, amen, Brad. You're welcome. That's why I do this every morning, because it is not for the money. Remember that we the people must hang together, otherwise we shall surely hang separately. I think that was Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
6 for Tyrannus. Resist stupid. Good night, Doc Thompson.
Wherever you are. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Watch and listen at thedailymojo.com.